You can pick it up, Dr. Garcia.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 2023 Citizens Police Review Board meeting. It is currently 6:06 and right now, at the current moment, we do not have a quorum. We're hoping that another member will join us, but in the meantime, we will not be taking any actions. And if that person comes on, we'll be able to. But what we'll be able to do is to give you some reports today about what's happening here at the Citizens Police Review Board. But welcome, everybody. And because we can't do any formal business, I'm going to ask Executive Director Pittenger if she could just give us an update report.
Thank you, Dr. Gershio, and good evening, members. I will be very brief. Our intake to date is 55 contacts from people seeking some assistance of some sort, filing a complaint, or being referred to where they can pursue a complaint with another jurisdiction. I attended the Citizen Police Academy spring session that opened on March 8th. They had, I'd say, about 20 people there. Very good group, very interested. There was even an individual who's applying to be a Pittsburgh police officer. And he came, he's on the list, apparently. He's moving forward anyway. He's on the next step of the application. But he's attending the CPA because he wants to learn more about the Bureau that he wants to be a part of. And I thought that was very encouraging. Well, I wanted to make an amendment to your case review agenda, but we don't need to do that if we don't have a quorum. And an update on two important things, well, three actually. The city archivist has a designee with whom we met to discuss what we wanted to do for posterity, basically. And Dr. Darby, you'll remember where we wanted to remove and destroy a certain number of records many years ago. And you practically like, no, you can't do that. So we haven't. And as a result, we have thousands of files that are paper and in boxes and lots of boxes. Now, of course, that's not material that is worthy of being archived with the city's archives. The archivists are going through material that I guess has some historic value. I'm not quite sure, but Stephanie and I did have an opportunity to meet with that liaison. And we're thinking in terms of the public hearing records should be considered as part of that for our department, for our office, for your board archives. For the city archives, we certainly recommended that the founding documents and all the municipal record and referendum and public hearing transcripts, things of that nature, that they should certainly be preserved.
Mm-hmm. What about what about all the challenges we had to go through to in front of you and Solicitor Ward had to go in front of judges in order to remind people what we are able not to do?
Yeah, Dr. Gershio, the litigation,
yeah.
All of those records as well. The case files and the case records, of course, we have the old material when our solicitor changed, and Solicitor Ward has all the new material that he is professionally bound to preserve. So all of that is still in existence. We would not consider destroying any of that.
Plus, the court retains the copies of everything that was filed, either with hard copies or electronically.
Mm-hmm. So it's archived in various places.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, our challenge is for all the people that came to us over the years. I mean, we're talking 25 years worth of complaints. It's a lot. And there's a lot of boxes that go to it. And it doesn't, they're valuable to us because we meant something to somebody who came to us, and they meant something to us once they came to us. So we haven't quite figured out. We had considered maybe having an intern or 10 to do some digitizing up of those records, or selecting some. I don't know what we're going to do with all of those, but that's not what's the concern of the city archivist. And so we'll work with them and be sure that there's a good representation of the board's record, its history preserved.
That's it, you know, at
Probably would not
CCHC, what we do is, you know, we're getting rid of paper, and we got a program called Perceptive Content, and you just use this copier, and it, you know, you have people feed it in. It's going to take you a couple months if you got lots of boxes, but a couple interns, and then it's out there in the cloud.
Awesome.
I don't know its cost, but you know,
What's the name of it?
Perceptive Content.
Okay. Not storage archive. Okay. That's
What
terrific. We'll look
platform
into that,
was
won't we?
Yeah, what platform was the archivist going to use?
No idea.
Okay. I mean,
We know
'cause I
that they
can't-
were,
I believe the city uses Iron Mountain.
But that's storage, isn't it?
yes, and they were digitizing this material. I
Okay,
do not know what they're using, but they too had concerns about space because of the storage, not unlike what, the police go through with evidence retention.
yeah,
And it's, or body worn camera video, it's really probably somewhere finite, but we all believe it's an infinite cloud. I don't know, but it costs money. So we'll look into that, Dr. Gershio, and see if maybe for our in-house purposes, we might be able to look at something like that, and it would be a perfect activity and constructive activity for an intern.
Absolutely.
We have everybody from 1998. First complaint came in July 15th of 1998. From there forward to 2010, we have everybody entered in. We have a database of everybody, but we don't have many details related to them that's contained in the paper file that they have. And their handwritten complaint, that sort of thing. But we do know who the people are. It's just now we have to decide what we should keep, and if we should just, buy more boxes and just let somebody else handle it. I don't know. And that's not fair. We'll figure it out.
I see a future where somebody's dissertation is going to need some of those records for prosperity because of the work that this group has done. So that was my thinking years ago when I told you we can't destroy it. So I still have that hope.
Okay, we hear you. We respect that, Dr. Darby. We respect that. We have all of them.
Yeah, some historian might do their dissertation on the.
Well, thinking about the state of police, activities and community concerns, and with us being the voice of the community, I can see someone someday having an interest.
Yeah, and I belong to a couple groups, and I think of Dave Copeland's group out of Pitt, Social Work.
Yeah.
To talk to Copeland and say, hey, anybody looking for an idea on social justice?
Yeah, you're right.
Great idea. We will protect and preserve them the best of our ability. And of course, all the public hearing records will be retained. No question asked there. Okay, super. We go back to the case we've talked about related to, it's an inquiry, it's not a specific complaint case, but an inquiry into the training and preparation of first line and up the chain of command staff training, to preparation, and then pre and post promotion, so that we could try to assess how officers who are coming off the street or desk assignments and put into a supervisory role or prepared for that. And then how we maintain that professional development through the rest of their career. In terms of their supervisory career, we were focused on that. Back on November 15th, Investigator Elwood reached out to the training academy and was referred back to the headquarters for information related to that. What curricula do you have? What are your standards of assessment? What are the whole training package, basically, because they do reference that in their general orders in their manual. An expectation that certain things will happen for training purposes. He did not get an answer. I followed up in the beginning of December with the law department liaison, who was identified by someone in the Bureau, and asked for, what's going on? Can we please have that material? And why would there even be a question as to whether or not we could peruse that material? There's no CREA involved here. It's not top secret. It's not something that should be, you should be afraid of having exposed to the board. We didn't get any answer. Mr. Ward and I had an opportunity to have a courtesy visit with the city solicitor, who was receptive to, learning more about the board. Mr. Ward shared our litigation background, and we were able to explain to her what our role is, and oh, by the way, this is a matter that's been outstanding for a while, and we'd like to get it resolved without having to resort to issuing a subpoena, because that's formal. It can entail a lot, and it just wasn't. We didn't feel it was necessary to go that route immediately. Give them the time they need, but please just acknowledge that you're working on it. We didn't hear anything. Beginning of March, sent another request, like, where do we stand with this? And oh, by the way, we didn't hear back from you at all. And the response was, I don't recall it. It's in the case summaries if you read the summary for that particular inquiry. And then as I returned, I was informed by the assistant solicitor in the law department of the city of Pittsburgh that they were working on our original request. And so I said, well, consider this to be the complete request. And I replicated what I had drafted in the original, for the original purpose of doing a subpoena. And it referenced the Bureau's policies, what they required in their policy for training, what they required to establish the credentials of their instructors. We asked for the most recent, maybe 2 years of supervisory training classes with the attendees in those classes, with their promotion dates, et cetera. And that's when I received a response that said, well, we were working on your original. And I said, well, this is what we really want. And I asked that they kindly provide it to us by today before your board meeting. And I did not receive a response. So I don't know if you all would like to discuss any of that. I'm at this point inclined to exercise what you authorized Mr. Ward and I to do, and that is to issue a subpoena for those materials. It just seems unfortunate that we'd have to go that direction for a number of reasons. Now, we could pursue the inquiry and just say, obviously, they don't have that material. And so the quality and the quantity of that training is suspect because they must not have any because they're not sharing it with us. On the other hand, I don't think that's fair to people who have been doing training and have, professionally invested in that process. But we need to know what it is. And at this point, I don't know, Mr. Ward, if you would agree with me or not, but I know the board did authorize us to pursue that some time ago. And at this point, I'm inclined, unless members feel differently.
Well, they can't take a vote on that issue. The
Right.
authorization has been previously extended to you and then through you to me. What I would recommend is that I reach out to City Solicitor Kubiak or Mike Kennedy tomorrow and say, it's beyond embarrassing because here we are patiently waiting for a response and still not getting one. And then, based on that, follow through with authority that's been delegated to the executive director.
It was 4.5 months later.
Yeah.
And this is to determine the adherence to standards as well as the quantity and quality of the training that officers receive when they are moved from patrol or other rank to the next higher rank. And it's critically important. Remember, we had issues in the last couple of years where officers just didn't show up, even though they were ordered to be somewhere and they didn't show up. They don't do that unless they think they can get away with it. The weakness in terms of that structure and the capacity of our supervisory level in the Bureau is what initiated this inquiry in the first place. We're short. The Bureau is short on officers. And that suggests that they're probably also short on supervisory officers. And then how are they being trained to handle what they're supposed to be handling plus an additional burden, if that's the case? But we don't know because we've not been given access to that material. So I wanted to bring you up to date with where we were with that, because 4.5 months is pretty long time to be waiting for something that should be established in the training academy as a standard course of preparation for officers being promoted.
Well, I like Mr. Ward's recommendation to a phone call and then see what response we get from that. And then if not, Ms. Pittinger, we've already voted on the action we wanted you to take. So follow through.
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's my suggestion. Yeah.
Beth, when did this, Ms. Pittinger, when was this initiated? In October?
November 15th.
November 15th, okay. Yes,
Perhaps I waited too long, but I was just trying to be reasonable. We had new leadership in the law department. We had new leadership in the city and in the holidays and all of that. But it just doesn't. Yeah.
I agree with what's been said, but even with new leadership, I think we met with the city solicitor on January 26th, which is 2 months. So, even if we start the clock ticking, so to speak, from that point, I'm disappointed that there's been no meaningful response to the potential of a subpoena, because I followed up after that meeting and provided requested information about litigation over the past 2 decades, which generated a response saying, thank you for providing this information, which was appropriate. But after that, there's been no response. So Beth, maybe you and I can coordinate tomorrow.
So yes, thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Thank you, members. I have one other item, Dr. Gershio, if I may.
Sure.
And that has to do with the status of our board members' terms. Every 4 years, we come to this point for some of you. And this year we have 4 terms that will be expiring October 31st. That is a quorum. October 31st of 2023. Where the chair is duty bound to give public notice 180 days prior to the expiration of any term. So that date would be the beginning of May. I believe May 4th is the 180th day. So if members can consider whether you wish to continue serving, and I can advise the appointing bodies of your willingness and ability to serve, I would like to include that in the notice that we send to the mayor and to the council. The seats involved are council seat number 1, Ms. Brown, council seat number 3, Mr. Green, mayoral seat number 6, Dr. Darby, and mayoral seat number 7, Mr. Williams. So we meet again on April 24th, which is in advance of the deadline for the public notice and notice to the appointing body. So we have plenty of time, but I wanted you to think about it so we'd be prepared at that meeting to indicate your willingness and ability to continue to serve, or if you prefer not to.
Can that be done by email or a call to you, Beth? Does that work?
Yeah, either way is fine with me.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay.
And I think our positions are coming along. The community liaison should be posted within the next couple of weeks. And I was thinking you members might want to consider thinking about what you would like to recommend to the Bureau of Police for inclusion in their 2024 and 25 budgets. Just an idea, just a thought that you might have some areas of training or engagement or something. When we saw the presentation last month from Trulio, that's the kind of technology that would be really helpful, and I think would go a long way in the professional development of officers, which in turn is a positive effect on public safety and the relationship between the community and the police, because it would enhance their interactions in a more professional way and enable supervisors in the Bureau to intervene, correct, redirect, or do whatever they need to do to assure that the officers under their command are professional. So something like that would be a very positive recommendation to the chief of police, and I'm sure he would be receptive to those things. It's not saying that they have to do anything,
Right.
but it would give them an indication of things that you're thinking about that could have a positive impact on the community police relationship through a different process.
Will we address anything about the recruits and their training?
They receive 900 and some hours of training before they come out, a regular recruit class. They have a veteran class in there that has 3 members, from what I understand. They have an abbreviated training, but a regular routine recruit class, we have their curriculum. I'd be happy to share it with members. The content and the specifics of the curricula I don't have. There are standards that are established by the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission. They're the ones that establish the basic curriculum for police recruits throughout the Commonwealth. They have to meet that. And there are qualifications for instructors in those courses. So there's a lot that goes into that, Dr. Gershio, that's different from the annual training for officers or enhanced training. In the course of a regular academy, they also have they have components of local interest only, to customize the training to the city code, local policies and procedures. Otherwise, though, on an annual basis, they are required through the MPOETC to have 16 hours, I think it is, of in-service. And in that includes the firearms qualification, which, if you recall, a year ago, we had a little problem with close to 100 officers that weren't able to qualify for their firearms certification. But anyway, that and updates, legal updates, where they are apprised of changes affecting their law enforcement practice based on court decisions that have been rendered in the last year. So it's the ongoing, and then there are usually one or two, maybe three topical subjects that they can pick as an option. They get credit for the balance of their annual in-service training. One of the things that I did reach out to somebody and ask, I didn't get an answer yet, but if you paid attention yesterday to some of the details or all the chatter around the incident in Nashville, that tragedy, the Nashville Police and Nashville Fire, they have a rescue tactical response plan where they enter, like in a case of an active shooter, before perhaps the shooter is rendered harmless. As they enter buildings, the fire department is tactically prepared to go in with the officers so that they can immediately address the first responder needs that they may find. It's a little bit different from having them stay aside and wait until the scene is declared completely safe. And then EMS, fire, first responders enter the building and scene and attempt to render service to individuals who need it. But this rescue, this partnership was very intriguing. And I did ask if the Bureau trains with the fire department on that kind of in that kind of capacity, where I know fire is now responding to all shootings. And initially, I know personally, I was not all convinced that it was the best idea. But boy, I tell you, yesterday, listening to that and watching how they prepared for that response was it was enlightening in that regard. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes an awful lot of sense. And I don't know if they do it here or not. I have a suspicion they don't, but maybe they will. Maybe they will, or maybe they are. But again, I don't have an answer yet. But it was a model that I thought was very...
It was efficient, that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beth, I'm glad you're bringing that up because I saw that 3 or 4 times yesterday, but I didn't think of it as the police and the firemen together. I just saw them in the force moving forward. And I remember the chief saying that they didn't have to wait, that they were ready to move right in. So I'm glad you mentioned it tonight because it's putting a different spin on seeing that picture yesterday with the two entities working together, in that emergency situation.
It's really, it's that mutual concern. It's the public safety. It's like, yeah, we're skilled and we can bring our skills together and really serve the people that need us at the moment. And the thing about those active shooter responses, you would think, everybody refers back to Uvalde. And why did they all stand out there?
Yeah.
All those police standing out there, it was shameful. Yes, they were fearful of those weapons, but we saw the Nashville response here in the synagogue. We saw our own officers immediately go to the sound of fire. That's what they're supposed to do. And that model down in Nashville, though, I thought was really that I'd love to see that happen here. I hope we don't ever need that, but even a train derailment, something that needs help immediately and a lot of help immediately, having our 2 or 3 bureaus, EMS, fire, and police working together so closely for this common cause would be really, really invigorating, I think. It'd be awesome. But the active shooter response that we go back to 1966 with Charles Whitman and the Texas Tower. We learned then what had to be done. And for the most part, police departments did respond that way over the last 50, 60 years, but it just seems like we have to do something else, because no matter how we respond, we should try to prevent before we have to. I think that's all I can share tonight, since we do not have a quorum to do any official business. The only thing I would have recommended was the amendment to the case review agenda. We will continue to pursue the investigations, because as we've said before, and you've even encouraged us, that moments like this, when there's not a quorum to officially vote to move a case forward, those are artificial stops in an investigation. Investigators will continue to pursue their investigations, and how it ends up in April will include whatever they've been able to do in this month,
Perfect,
regardless of whether you've moved it to a status or not.
perfect. Do we have anybody on that wants to speak for 3 minutes before we wrap up?
He's tall. as-
Mark, the Ozarks are in the audience. Nigel's in the audience in WPXI. No one has their hand up.
Okay. Again, folks, if
I would like
anybody,
Dr. Gershio, may I interrupt you, please?
sure.
I know, Roger. It's good to hear that Nigel's in the audience. Nigel has updated our website.
Dude, he's talking about his Robert something. I think his name is Robert something. He would go down. He had only could see how that was on there. But Duke and yeah, increases.
He did get us all updated, so we're updated to in the form that you're used to, and we will maintain that.
Great. Thanks, Nigel. All right, hearing that there is nobody who wants to make comment, our next meeting is, let me grab my calendar, April.
24th.
Did you say 25th, Beth?
4th.
4th, sorry.
Yeah.
No, the 24th is Monday, right? 25th is Tuesday? Yeah, it's April 25th at 6 p.m. And again, we will continue till further notice with the virtual meeting. All right, I can't even make a motion to adjourn because we don't have a quorum. So everybody have a good month. Happy holidays to all.
Dr. Darby,
Right?
Dr. Darby, Tuesday's the 25th for April, the meeting.
Yeah, Dr. Gershio got it.
I'm sorry, Dr. Gershio. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She got it.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Yep.
Alrighty, folks.